So, Ashen Wake got a buff, and a pretty significant one at that, allowing it to do some crazy stuff, both in PvE and in PvP. So first up, let's just go over Ashen Wake real quick, and the changes that occurred in update 2.8.0. Killing an enemy with a fusion grenade while wearing this exotic now refunds grenade energy. The amount of grenade energy refunded scales based on the tier of enemy killed. Now inside of PvP, it's a 1-to-1, as in one grenade kill completely refunds you the entire grenade, like the whole thing, which is pretty crazy. Now in PvE, that's not really the case. I think for like minor enemies, 3 to 4 is required to get your entire grenade back. And maybe even that scales differently depending on the activity that you're doing. Your majors, maybe 2 to get your grenade back, and then your super thick boys, your colossus and such, yellow bars, those guys are a 1-to-1. Now previously, Ashen Wake didn't return back any of your grenade energy. It simply gave you the ability to bypass that delay in your fusion grenade detonation. As the exotic perk Bring the Heat states that fusion grenades now explode on impact. You also gain increase in throw speed, and since update 2.8.0, they included that last little bit there where final blows with fusion grenades grant you grenade energy. Now pre 2.8.0, the only subclass I could reliably use with Ashen Wake to get my grenade back, at least in a timely manner, was bottom tree Sunbreaker. A lot of great benefits here. You've got things like So Invictus, which allows you to restore your health on grenade melee abilities and Sunwarrior kills. Now Sunwarrior is the biggest one, as passing through a sunspot causes your grenades and melee abilities to recharge much faster and your super to last longer. It also increases all damage that you do. Now something's bugged there because we actually tested the damage values for our fusion grenade with Ashen Wake, which is going to be pretty mind-blowing. First up, inside of PvP, Ashen Wake cranks up that fusion grenade damage to 150 and allows it to instantaneously proc, right? Immediate impact, that damage is applied. 150 is a pretty good chunk. Now granted, that damage diminishes if not directly landed. And there seemed to be like some retuning here, because previously when I would play with Ashen Wake, you could be way off. I mean, you could literally hit the guy from 3-4 meters away outside of his hitbox and it would still somehow detonate. It seems like that has been toned down a bit, although Bungie did not mention that in the Sandbox patch notes. But playing yesterday both on controller and on mouse and keyboard, direct hits or close to direct hits were required to even apply even a little bit of damage. And there was moments that my grenade would just whiz past the enemy without even detonating. Now Sunwarrior, despite it saying it increases all damage, does not increase damage here on Ashen Wake for your fusion grenades for both PvP and PvE, which is why we started to look elsewhere in terms of subclasses, which brings us to Middle Tree Sunbreaker. Middle Tree Sunbreaker has a lot of benefits. Probably the most noticeable one in the neutral game though is Roaring Flames. Now Roaring Flames allows kills with your solar abilities to increase the ability's damage and will stack up to 3 times. Inside of PvP, we're throwing fastballs, boys. I mean, it is nasty. 150 damage on Ashen Wake by itself, but with Roaring Flames times 1, that damage cranks up to 188. Now granted, for the most part, you're not gonna kill anyone with that. Most people are rocking higher than 2 resilience, but anyone that's staying at the bare minimum of resilience, yes, you will be able to kill them at Roaring Flames times 1, although it will require almost perfect direct hits, which takes us to Roaring Flames times 2, which increases our damage to 235, which is where you get that sweet spot. Now, even if you aren't hitting direct hits, it doesn't matter, man. That detonation damage on impact is going to get the 1-hit KO every single time. And then when you reach Roaring Flames times 3, it's just gravy after this point. Now with the changes to Roaring Flames last season, the duration there that we get is much longer. 20 seconds. 20 seconds of Roaring Flames buff, 25% increase at every stack, results in you being able to go from one spawn all the way to the other with a very deadly 1-hit grenade. Better than even sticky grenades back inside of Destiny 1. Now granted, you have to do a lot more work to get to this point, but if you rock combinations like this build right here with Marty, Breach Light, especially even a Breach Light with Demolitionist, for those that did farm for that role last season, this is where it comes into play. And if you got Marty with Demolitionist, which is what I have here, needless to say, guys, I've been prepping for this build for a very, very long time. Now, despite as nasty as it may appear, there are some dilemmas when using Ashen Wake. Number 1, yes, you get your grenade back immediately upon getting a kill, but you can't use it. Matter of fact, you'll see some clips where I've got enemies closing on me and I'm mashing the grenade button and it's hitting red. It's like sitting there trying to tell me that my grenade is not available despite it pretty much being already available. There seems to be a small delay window from when you get the kill with the grenade, when you get your grenade back, and when the game allows you to throw the grenade again. Now, this could have actually been latency, could have been some issues with some connections. Maybe the game wasn't registering that my grenade energy was back in those certain situations. And I will say for the servers here lately, it's been wild. So that definitely could have been the case. Connections have been all over the place. But that was the issue that I was running into, was that there was times where I wasn't able to throw back-to-back grenades, and so enemies collapsing on you could still bone you. Now, there was also another issue that I ran into that was somewhat annoying. If you have Roaring Flames ×3 and you are in mid-throw of your grenade and you get killed, that buff for your grenade immediately goes away. As in, it could be midway to the opponent, ready to do the full 290 something damage, and the moment you die, it drops to 150. So be careful. If you're trying to go for the trade, 9 times out of 10, you're just gonna leave them one shot, because that Roaring Flames buff immediately unapplies itself when you die. Now, I don't know if that's the case with everything. Like, I don't know if that's the case for the melee or even for the super. Pretty sure it's not, or at least for the super, as the burn damage will continue to do that buff damage. But at least here for Ashen Wake, that damage buff goes away. Now, the other downside to Roaring Flames, and I'm bringing up all these pros and cons because you have to decide which subclass you want to use for both PvP and PvE with this exotic, and there's benefits to both bottom tree and middle tree Sunbreaker. But I will say one of the biggest drawbacks to middle tree Sunbreaker with Roaring Flames ×3 is that there were times when an opponent, say a shotgunner, was closing in on me, I would throw the grenade, it would detonate and kill me. Now, we already know we take self-inflicted damage if we throw this grenade too close to an opponent with us on top of them. It does self-inflicted damage. But what we didn't know, at least not until now, or at least I didn't know, was that the damage seems to scale up depending on your Roaring Flame stacks. So you're doing all this work to get Roaring Flames ×3, just know you've got a ticking time bomb in your hand that will wipe you. Not only will it wipe you, but it kills you first and doesn't kill your opponent, which means you'll only do 150 damage to them, but full damage to yourself. So you just kill yourself and leave your opponent alive. So something to keep in mind, which takes us to which subclass you should use, at least for PvP. For PvP, if you're purely relying on the grenade to do shenanigans like running around, getting one-hit KOs with a grenade, and outright memeing, by all means, middle tree is definitely the way to go. Roaring Flames is an excellent perk there, boosting that damage, and as long as you can keep distance between you and your opponents, and you got pretty decent aim, you'll get grenade kills all day long, straight out the spawn. On top of that, you're getting all these benefits for your melee, so you can cycle these things together. Roaring Flames ×3 doesn't just buff our grenade damage here, it also buffs our melees. So if you want to throw melees across the map, maybe even wombo combo it on enemies running out of their spawn, grenade and hammer, you can definitely do that. Now, if you're one of those guys that like to rely on Sunwarrior, as well as the healing aspect, which is probably the biggest one, because even if you do go in for the trade, or you have an opponent right on top of you, Sunwarrior will keep you alive. And I would say any situation like elimination or 3v3, I would probably rely more on bottom tree Sunbreaker than I would middle tree, simply because Roaring Flames ×3 is nice, but when we're looking at 3v3 scenarios, you're gonna get all those stacks for what? Just to go into the next round, right? Where something like Sunwarrior, as well as Soul Invictus, could benefit you in those 1v1 scenarios. Now, moving on to PvE. This is where things get crazy. This is when we start seeing damage values jump up exponentially here with Roaring Flames. But let's just go over what fusion grenades do by itself here at Greg. It does 179 impact damage, which is just the sticky damage, and detonates for 20,429 for a total of 20,678 damage. Not much there, plus you have a small delay. But with Ashen Wake, this increases the damage almost by 100%, nearly doubling it, for a total damage of 40,995. Now, Sunwarrior, like it was in PvP, does not increase grenade damage with Ashen Wake, but Roaring Flames still does, throwing our damage up at Roaring Flames ×3 to 45,182 plus 44,882 for a total damage of 90,064. This is actually a 335% increase in damage over our basic fusion grenade and a 120% increase in damage over just base Ashen Wake. So if you're looking to get the most out of your grenade in terms of just pure damage, just raw damage, and you want to hit meaty boys all day long to get those resets, Roaring Flames is definitely the best way to go. Having that 20-second duration, being able to proc Roaring Flames with your melee too. By the way, guys, you can just go in there, throw your hammer into enemies, proc Roaring Flames, and then proceed to throw your grenade on the meaty boys, can result in you hanging onto those Roaring Flame stacks a lot longer, and simultaneously having a grenade in your back pocket that's doing 335% 20% more damage. Now granted, this is not meant for mindless killing, right? That's the thing about this. That's the thing about Middle Tree Sunbreaker in general. To me, it's not a mindless subclass. On top of that, even though it's got so much damage from our abilities there, for the case of ad control, Bottom Tree Sunbreaker is still the best. Being able to spawn sunspots, and on top of spawning sunspots, carrying that Sunwarrior buff around results in other kills, even with your weapons, depending on how many kills you get, also spawning sunspots. Which is why Bottom Tree Hammers, for say an activity like Seraph Towers, is fantastic. When you got so many enemies just coming down on you, and you don't want to sit there and shoot every single one of them. You want to concentrate on the media ads. Just sitting in that sunspot, letting it just kill everything that's trying to come into your zone is a fantastic way to control ads, and arguably the best way, as those sunspots will stay for a very, very long time just by you standing in them. And I kind of find myself hopscotching my way to each one of these sunspots that I spawn. So that's how you decide it for PvE, guys. If you've got super media ads and you're looking to take advantage of that increase in grenade damage, then go the route of Roaring Flames. Take advantage of that. Combine it with your melees and even your super, you'll get a lot of benefit there. But if you're looking for the best way to control ads, Ashen Wake and Bottom Tree Sunbreaker is still the way to go. So guys, that is our review there for Ashen, a significant buff that benefits both PvE and PvP. Got some crazy shenanigans, so try it out today. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.